Our next speaker comes from down under, you know what that is? So our friend Kylee will talk about her experience, but before we talk about, get her up here to talk.
Can we say a few words about it?
Yeah.
All right, I'm happy to.
Sponsor here.
So Kylee Roberts is the Inclusion Projects Manager at the Council for Intellectual Disabilities. It's in New South Wales in Australia. And her colleague, Alana Julian, was at the UN with us last week as well. She had an emergency and had to return home and unfortunately can't be here with us tonight. But we've asked Kylee, we're glad that she could be here with us, and we asked if she would say a few words in Alana's place and also on behalf of the Council for Intellectual Disability. So thank you, Kylee.
Hi everyone, I'm Kylee, and as Bill said, I am from the land down under, but don't hold that against me. Thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. I am here on behalf of Alana, who unfortunately couldn't make it. We both work for the Council for Intellectual Disability, but sometimes we call it CID for short. So you may see that or hear me say that through this. CID is a disability rights organisation led by people with intellectual disability, and we are based in Sydney in Australia. For more than 60 years, we've been working to make the community more inclusive and to make sure all people with intellectual disability are valued. We speak up on the big issues, we provide information and learning opportunities, and we empower people and communities. We work with and for people with intellectual disability to make sure that their rights are protected, that everybody is included, and that people are supported well. Inclusion is a big part of everything we do at CID. More than half our board members have an intellectual disability, and as there are lots of rules that go along with being a board member, the board members are supported by a board participation worker, and her role is to make sure that everyone does the right thing in their role and makes good decisions on behalf of CID. Alana unfortunately couldn't be here to speak with you, but I do want to let you know that she was the first permanent employee of CID with an intellectual disability, which she is very proud of. And since she started, we've also got Ben, who has come along to join our team in a permanent role as well. Both Alana and Ben bring a new perspective to our everyday workplace. They make us more inclusive just by being in the room with us. Alana and I work together on a project called Inclusion Point. We teach people how to include people with intellectual disability, how to use respectful language, and how to make information accessible for everyone. We run information sessions for people with intellectual disability on subjects they want to know about. Topics at the moment are things like consumer rights, good mental health, and safety on social media. And we do try to use easy read in everything we do. At CID, we work from a human rights approach. For many years in Australia as well, people with a disability were treated from a medical model. And that means everyone wanted to fix their disability. Because of that, a lot of people were put into institutions, they were not part of families, and they were not part of communities. They were invisible and forgotten. They didn't have a voice, and they were often treated very badly, as Diana has shared. Alana always says that her disability is only one part of her, and she knows how important it is for her to be able to speak up for herself and for others. The work we do is focus on the rights of people with disabilities and that they have the same rights as everyone else. Like Daniel talked about, other people's attitudes create barriers. A lack of respect or low expectations means people don't understand that people with intellectual disability can have a job and can be part of the community. Everyone needs support to do their job, and Alana and our other employees with intellectual disability always have participation support with them. That's my role, although Alana's not here. The participation support person is like a meeting assistant. We make sure that they're prepared for the meeting, that the minutes and the agenda are in an accessible format that they can understand. We make sure they get there on time, that they can find the building. And then we make sure when they're actually sitting in the meeting that their appearance there is not a tokenistic thing, that they can actually get their point across well within the meeting. As we all know, meetings go fast and sometimes it's not easy to get your point across. Good participation support can break down barriers so everyone is included. Alana is also currently on a part of the Australian Shadow Reporting Group on the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. So Australia also has signed and ratified this convention in 2008, and this year we have to report back to the UN on how we're doing. They will be sending their report in September, and they will be reporting some really good things, but they'll also be reporting on things that we can do so much better. Disability advocates like Alana advocate for herself and other people with a disability. Alana learned to speak up for herself and now has the privilege of speaking up for many others with her work across Australia and at the UN last week. Alana also does work in systemic advocacy at CID, and this means we speak up for people who have common issues or take action on their behalf. We work together to get long-term social change, to make sure the rights of people with disabilities are upheld through legislation, policies and practices. Our advocacy team worked very hard this year in Australia to get better healthcare for people with intellectual disability. Our campaign was called End Deadly Disability Discrimination, and I always fault up, there's a few too many D's in that. Our health counts. In Australia, people with intellectual disability die 27 years younger than everyone else. 27 years, that's pretty awful. And 38% of people who have died with an intellectual disability were misdiagnosed. So that means they were treated differently, no one listened to them, and all because of their disability. That needs to stop. Alana and others at CID went and talked to politicians, asked them to fix this problem and save lives. Because everyone deserves good health and a long life, right? Everyone. People with intellectual disability sometimes need that help to speak up, and sometimes they have no one to help them. So that is why advocacy is so important. Advocacy means that everyone has a voice, and we should be able to have a voice about things that matter to us. The last point I want to make, or Alana wanted to make, was about accessible information, as this is vital for people with, to have choice and control in their lives. Easy Read helps Alana understand information, helps her have choice in her life. For example, we have Easy Read policies in our workplace at CID. So our complaints policy, for instance, is in Easy Read. That ensures that all employees understand the rules when they're at work. So what is Easy Read? It is information that is easy to read and understand, and that understand is the most important part of that. Easy Read isn't just for people with intellectual disability though. In Australia, 44% of people have can only read at an early high school level. So their literacy level, Easy Read can help them understand things as well. In Easy Read, we use everyday language like we would in a conversation. We only put in what people need to know, not all the nice stuff, the extra stuff. We write things in larger writing, have more space between the lines. We write a new sentence on a new line. This is processing time. When someone reads something, they can read one line and process that information and then understand it. And we use pictures to help people understand concepts as well. At CID, we love Easy Read, and so do all our members. They get a newsletter every, 4 times a year, and they love it. They love being included. So thank you again for inviting CID to come to Harrisburg and be part of this great event. We need to keep this conversation going about these issues around the world so no one will be left behind. Thank you.